So this weekend I went on a trip with some friends and decided not to bring my computer and only my camera. I took a bunch of photos and decided since I didn't have my computer, I'll just edit them on my phone. They turned out really well and I decided to create a tutorial on how I did that. So let's dive right into the phone and I'll show you how I did that. So here we are in the Lightroom app. If you don't have it already, it's free and I really recommend it. So if you've been using Lightroom, it should look very familiar to you. You see you have all your sliders such as exposure and contrast. And you also have your temperature sliders and vibrance. And also your HOS sliders. So what I like to do to begin is I like to mess with the exposure. If you can see I shot kinda underexposed. So what I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna bump up the exposure just slightly. And then just bring some contrast into the image. Maybe some highlights. And so I'm going for that vintage look, and so I want to lift the shadows up a lot, so maybe around 35. And that looks good to me. Now let's go to the color tab. And then kind of just bring up the temperature just slightly. Maybe 3. And then the tint also. And then let's click mix. And this will give you all the colors that you can manipulate in the image. And so let's go with red. And so what I like to do for red is just and all the colors is just kind of mess around with the color sliders and just to see what looks good and what doesn't. So what I'm just gonna do is I'm just gonna slide it to all the way to the bottom, and then just kind of start to slowly bring it up. And then I'm just gonna land just around maybe minus 35. That looks good to me. Alright, and then what we're gonna do now is go to the orange. And then what I'm gonna do for orange is I'm gonna just bump up the hue just slightly, just to balance out that increase in red. Let's go to about 24. That looks good. Let's click yellow. Alright, now let's bring that yellow around 16. That looks good. And let's bring the saturation down because I don't like that green tone that's kind of casting. So let's bring the saturation really low. So let's go to about there, 59. That looks good to me. And let's bring that luminance just slightly up. And this is all, there's no right or wrong way to do this. So let's go to your green and just bring your saturation up slightly. Maybe there. I just want to give some more life to the leaves. And let's go to your blue. And just bring up the hue just slightly. We don't want teal looking. And kind of go to all the colors and just kind of see what looks good and what doesn't. You don't have to do exactly what I'm doing. And let's go to purple. Bring up the hue slightly. And the saturation. Let's go to about 70. And then just bring down the luminance just to give it just the balance of there. And then once you're done kind of manipulating all the colors, just click done. And then what I like to do is I like to click the effect tab, go to split tone, and this is just a way to introduce a little more color tone. So let's bring some orange into the highlights. Just slightly. That looks good. And some red into the shadows. And this is where you can get really creative and just play around with it. And so you can balance out just by kind of moving the balance just slightly. So I'm gonna just bring down is kind of experiment, and that looks good to me. Now click done. And now for some finishing touches, what I like to do is just add a little clarity to the image, just slightly. maybe a slight vignette just to isolate her face. And you can't have vintage without grain, so I'm gonna add some grain just slightly like that. And there you have it. This is the finished image, and as you can like long press to get the before and after. And so this is a great way to color tone your images and edit images really quickly, and it only took me 10 minutes in the car ride home. And so it shows you don't need a computer to edit really good portraits. If you like this video, just click subscribe, and I'll catch you on the next one. Peace.